All right, let's see if I can break this down into two videos. Let's look at the Global Carbon Pathway Project. And so this first video is just going to be dedicated to trying to figure out how to, well, one, it's more of an introduction, but how to go ahead and like select your carbon pathways. What are the requirements? It's really just as simple as reading this, but I think if you need any clarification, hopefully this video will help you out. So first of all, you do need two different carbon pathways. Let's go over to our Gizmos lab. You could be tempted to just go, well, that's a carbon pathway, and you're not wrong. That is a carbon pathway, but there are some rules that need to be followed for each one of these carbon pathways. So, for example, it has to be a cycle, which means that you're gonna go in sort of like a circle, or you're gonna end wherever you begin. So that can be as simple as that, or it could be a little bit more complicated. I could select something like this and we're back, but it's a full cycle. So that's one of the rules here, the first one. The second requirement is that one of those cycles or pathways has to go through the ocean. One of those carbon pathways has to be a fast carbon cycle. One of those carbon pathways has to be a slow carbon cycle. So what you can do here is create a pathway that has two of these requirements. Let me show you what I mean. Here we have gone through the ocean, so this pathway would meet the ocean requirement. This pathway would also meet the slow carbon cycle, because even though this process going from here to here happens relatively fast, the process of going from shells to limestone is actually something that happens throughout millions of years. It takes a really long time. Let me give you a different example. So I'm going to go through here, sediment, and really, if you just want to play it safe, as the saying goes, anything that involves fossil fuels, such as petroleum, natural gas, or coal, is a slow carbon cycle. So in this case, I'm going to choose, let's say, natural gas power plant, and we're back to atmospheric CO2. This carbon pathway meets one requirement. It also meets a second requirement. So this carbon pathway meets two of our requirements. Therefore, our other carbon pathway could be something a little bit more simple, a fast carbon cycle. So yeah, that's one carbon pathway. And like I said, the second one has to be something relatively fast, something like land plants, soil, atmospheric CO2. That's pretty fast. Land plants, animals, soil, that's pretty fast. Now, how do you know if it's fast or not? Well, it might take a little bit of research. You might need to, research how long does it take atmospheric CO2 to diffuse into plants. I'm going to pause the video. Well, you know what? I'm going to begin the search and literally search how long. Oh, look at that. I had already searched something else. How long does it take for how long does it take for atmospheric CO2, atmospheric carbon dioxide to go into plants? So after about a minute or so of looking up different things, I realized, hey, you know what? When land plants take up that CO2, that is called photosynthesis. And so I looked up how long does it take for photosynthesis to occur, and that really just takes a matter of hours. Hey, if you want to include that as a matter of days or years, that's fine. But you'll notice from here to here, it takes hours or days. How long does it take for animals to eat up plants? I don't know, days, for them to eat up a whole like section of a forest, maybe days. How long does it take for animals to be part of the soil, for them to decompose? Same thing. You could do a little bit of research, but infer, you can kind of guess that it doesn't take very long, not millions of years. Anything that does not take millions of years is considered, as it is explained here, a fast carbon cycle. Anything that takes up, from minutes to several hundred years is still considered fast. Anything that takes up millions of years is considered slow. So that's how to obtain and complete your carbon, and that's the first step. In fact, let me walk you through like beginning your cycle. So the first step is, once you have, sorry, my computer was lagging there. Once you have chosen your cycle, let's say I'm going to choose another one that I'm going to use in the other video. So once you have chosen your cycle, you're going to put these reservoirs into your slides. So you would begin by doing this, atmospheric CO2. I went ahead and just paused the video and then completed this. So I put atmospheric CO2, oceanic CO2, marine sediments, petroleum, car, back to atmospheric CO2. I changed a few things, like instead of putting, let's say, marine plants and animals, that's just every living thing. I put marine life. Instead of putting cars, I put vehicles to include, every vehicle uses gasoline if it's a gas vehicle. So instead of saying car, I just included vehicles. But here's your preliminary work. This is the first stage of completing your project. And in the second video, I'll walk you through the second part, which would look something like this.